G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people, review of the week time. So, lot to talk about, lot happened last week. This could be a long one, but we'll talk about the cards that happened last night before we do anything. So, let's talk about the DAZN card first. And Diego Pacheco stops Jack Cullen in a very dominant one-sided fight in 4 rounds. Now, Pacheco, I've been impressed with him, I have to say now. He looks very good. Looks a very capable prospect, super middleweight, 22 years old, decent puncher. Jack Cullen stood no chance. I didn't think he would. He's too easy to hit. He's just British level, thereabouts. Pacheco, he's going on to world honours. Now, Eddie Hearn recently signed Edgar Berlanga. Edgar Berlanga, Pacheco have been mentioning one another. Honestly, Berlanga would get absolutely annihilated. I've not been impressed with Berlanga at all. I don't know why Eddie Hearn signed. I really don't. I thought Eddie Hearn had a better eye for talent than that. But I think if he's signing Berlanga, it may only be just to be cannon fodder to Pacheco. I think that's all it'll be, because I see him beating the living crap out of Edgar Berlanga. I really do. Very impressed with his performance last night against Jack Cullen. Also on that card, not for the faint of heart, mind you, was this fight. Not in terms of what happened in the fight, in terms of the brutality of both guys, in terms of the injury, was Robbie Davis Jr. versus Dara Foley. Now, I thought Davis Jr. would win that fight, to be honest, because he seemed better of the two. And his jab was working pretty good in the first round, but he got caught at the end of the second round and dropped heavy. Now, he got back up, didn't seem too hurt, because it did seem a bit of a good knockdown, and went back out for the third round. Now, in the third round, Foley let loose a very small combination, didn't look devastating, but Foley went down. And, you looked at it, you kind of saw him hopping on one leg, and you knew instantly he was injured. And it's amazing to me that the DAZN commentary didn't pick it up. They only picked it up when they actually saw him getting worked on. They literally acted like, it was a shot that put him down, and that he was just discombobulated. They were like, well, he looked alright, but he must be more, concussed than we thought. It's like, they're working on his foot, you idiot. Can you not see that? So eventually the penny dropped with Mike Costello and Darren Barker on DAZN, and they actually realised that it was an injury to Robbie Davis Jr. And not for the faint heart, I'll say. If you're squeamish, don't watch the replay of him snapping his ankle back, because it looked bad. It looked very bad, really bad. I don't know how long Davis Jr. is going to be out of action for with that, because that really was the way it went. It was just, good. It wasn't nice, put it like that. I'd say that ankle, he's going to be out of action for a while. That's what I do think. In terms of any of the fights on the undercard, I only seen a little bit of Johnny Fisher. He obviously got a win. I'm not even sure what round it was. It was in the fourth round. I think I only saw the second and third round in that fight. Apparently the stoppage was very premature. Apparently it was. Now, again, I only seen a little bit, a very, very small bit of that fight, so I can't really comment on it and say, it was premature, it was this, it was that. That was all I really seen from the DAZN card. I was going back and forth between that and the card over there in France, but I was really interested in the Dan Aziz fight and the Yoka fight more so than I was the fights on that card, now I have to say. Obviously, I did watch the Foley fight, and again, not for the faint of heart. In terms of the fight that happened over in Australia, you obviously had Tim Tszyu knocking out and stopping in 9 rounds Tony Harrison. Now, I didn't do a prediction video on this fight, but I thought Tim Tszyu would win this fight by stoppage. I think I even said that in a couple of videos or streams and people asked me. And the reason why is I know how talented Tony Harrison is. I've never trusted his whiskers. He definitely appears to be fragile around the chin department, yes. But lately he's not been looking good. So people were kind of basing it off of the Tony Harrison of, best way to describe it, yesteryear almost, and saying, that's why it's going to be tough. And I was kind of like, no, time. I haven't been impressed with Tony Harrison for a while. He's not looked himself over the last couple of years. So Tim Tszyu, you could argue he's got a fairly damaged fighter in there to work with. So for me to see him win as clinically as he did, I wasn't shocked or surprised. That was what I expected, because as I said, this is not the Tony Harrison who fought Charlo in the first fight. This is a Tony Harrison who, in my opinion, is well on the decline, who was there for the taking, you know. I know he's only 32, but he's not looked himself for a long time now. He really hasn't. You know, against Sergio Garcia, alright, that was okay. Against Brian Patella, he looked not at the races. And I've never been... Look, Tony Harrison is a good fighter. He is. He definitely is. But I just knew going into that fight, I was like, he is not the fighter he was. And I've just never been convinced over the last couple of years that he's anywhere near what he used to be. I know he's still quite young, only 32. But for me, it wasn't going to be a shock that Tim Tszyu looked as good as he did. In terms of how he's going to get on against Charlo, well, obviously he was meant to fight Charlo start of January. Charlo pulled out with that fight. It's certainly going to be an interesting fight between the two. I don't know. I'm probably leaning towards Charlo, but I give Tim Tszyu a chance, certainly. But Charlo at 154, he's going to take some beating, put it like that. He will. He'll take some beating. In terms of the card that happened over here in France, it was this fight here, which was Farhad Saad versus Macaulay McGowan. I mean, you know, people complain, and they're right to complain about this, by the way, that in the UK it's very difficult to get a decision. It's difficult but not impossible. But when you look at places like France, look at some of the officiating that's gone over there in Spain, it puts it in context that the UK really isn't that bad when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we see at best 3 cards a year, if even, over in France and Germany and in Spain, because, you know, the shows they'd be showing, they don't tend to televise them like they used to on Sky and DAZN. Well, they only do their own shows over there. And even then we've seen some dodgy stuff go on Kerman Leharaga's shows. So we don't see a lot of shows that go on over in Spain, in Germany, in France, etc. When we do, we're all appalled with the level of officiating, with the way the judges are returning these scorecards. It kind of puts it in context that the UK is bad, but it's not that bad. I mean, over there, to say that fight was a draw, to say that Yoka versus Takam was a split decision, it's laughable. And I wouldn't mind seeing what the scorecards for Dan Aziz versus Thomas Frauer, I think is how you say that name, were, because honestly, some of these scorecards have been absolutely bizarre. They really have. But in terms of how the fights went, Dan Aziz did what he needed to do. He looked in control of that fight throughout. You know, he had a big round. I think it was in the 7th round where he looked like he might have been on the verge of stopping the opponent. The opponent got through, but come the 12th round, he'd taken a beating. He took one right hand too many. Dan Aziz gets the win. He's done it the hard way. You know, they were saying on the Sky feed that when he turned over, there was no promoter who wanted to work with him. I mean, he's 19-0 now. He's European champion. He's won area. He's won English. He's won British. He's won Commonwealth. Now he's won European. I mean, he's done the traditional route. You can't argue with that. He's done it that way. And potentially there could be a Joshua Buatsi fight around the corner for him. I'd like to see that fight. You know, Dan Aziz, Craig Richards is a good fighter, though, to his credit, he is. But it's a different proposition, Dan Aziz, to Craig Richards. It's going to be an interesting one. So if he does go and fight Buatsi, it's going to be interesting. As I've said about Dan Aziz, he is 33 years old. So he's not got a crazy amount of time. He's been doing it the right way since he turned over. And, you know, as I said, European champion is a great achievement. But I think there's more in the tank there with Dan Aziz. He just needs to get a move on. In terms of the main event, Carlos Takam versus Tony Yoka, I mean, God only knows how one judge scored that fight in Yoka's favour. I do not know. Because Yoka just seemed a deer in the headlights in that fight. He didn't seem at the races. He'd no confidence in anything he was doing. His jab looked very poor. When he did let his hands go, he looked okay, but the confidence just isn't there. It really isn't. And a part of me wonders, is it down to the fact that, look, I'm not making any excuse, but he's never officially failed a drugs test, but we know what happened with him missing a couple of drug tests. I wonder if now he's fighting normally and maybe he doesn't have the confidence in his own ability. Because this isn't the Tony Yoka I seen blasting out Demetrenko. The Tony Yoka who was, going in there and beating the living crap out of Dave Allen. Beating Jonathan Rice in his second pro fight. And that looks a lot better with time. The fact that he went in there with Jonathan Rice, I think it was Jonathan Rice anyway, in his second pro fight. I know it was definitely, it was Jonathan Rice. In his second pro fight to go in with him, that actually looks a lot better now in the grand scheme of things. It really does. We'd obviously had those fights against, Michael Wallish. He looked good at one point, and it was really, I want to say, probably Peter Millis, kind of when we started to see a bit of a change in Tony Yoka. He is only still 30 years old now, it has to be said. It's not like he's up there in age where you're just looking at him and thinking, oh Jesus, he's not got a lot of time left. No, he still has a bit of time left, but changes need to be made in Tony Yoka, certainly. And how will it go? That I do not know. It's going to be interesting to see what he does next. In terms of the news, obviously, the big one, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk, undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, reportedly being finalised for Wembley Stadium April the 29th. Now, whether or not it happens in April remains to be seen. I just wonder, will they try and push it back? Not necessarily to say they won't announce it, but maybe they will announce it, but just say, look, it's not happening in April, it's going to happen in May or June, because they're going to want to plug the hell out of this fight. And people are talking about it now. Frank Warren was on TalkSport. It'll be the highest grossing event to have ever taken place at Wembley Stadium, and I'm not talking about boxing, I'm talking as a one-off event. So Frank Warren really selling the absolute you-know-what out of this fight. He's also declared that Fury versus Usyk is most definitely on for April 29th, subject to contracts being sorted out. Regarding the date, Warren said, at one stage I wasn't sure whether Tyson would be fit for it, but he was okay. Now apparently Tyson Fury has already started training. He's in there with Joseph Parker, people like that. Oleksandr Usyk, we know, has already started training. And, this all came to a head on Friday. It really is incredible to think how this all came about, because Oleksandr Usyk was basically told by Tyson Fury in the video, 70-30, take it or leave it, and for every day you don't take it, you're going to lose 1% off that purse. Oleksandr Usyk, one of the best comebacks you could kind of give, he kind of gave Fury his own ultimatum and said, okay, I accept your 70-30, but you have to donate 1 million to Ukraine, and for every day you don't agree to it, 1% comes off your purse. So well played there. And of course, as I said, if Tyson Fury is the self-proclaimed man of the people, the guy who donated his entire purse to charity, ha 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 ha, laugh out loud, surely he'd have no problem doing that. Well, we'll see. But a part of me wonders, was that all part of the plan to get people talking? Because it just seemed dead in the water, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get this. Look, I'm happy. The WBA obviously announced that Oleksandr Usyk would have to defend his world title against Daniel Dubois, assuming no deal for this Fury fight was in place, because obviously the sanctioning bodies, they will prioritise the undisputed. They will prioritise unification, undisputed, etc. to some extent. Obviously, if you're taking the you-know-what, they're just going to say, right, enough's enough, we gave you enough time, make the goddamn fight, or fight your goddamn mandatories. So obviously the WBA, maybe that pushed them into action. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest with you. All I care about is we have undisputed. We have the undisputed fight. Let's go. Let's have fun talking about it. Let's have fun breaking it down. It's going to be great. The build up to these fights is always so entertaining. I love doing the build up. I love making videos about the build up, especially these big fights. So Fury Usyk, end of April, May, June, as long as we get it this side of the year, I'm all good. In terms of news, May the 20th, lads, mark that in your diary, because it's going to be a busy day for boxing. Because Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko for the undisputed lightweight world title is reportedly now finalised for May the 20th in Las Vegas. Now, we've been hearing about Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko for a while now, and seemingly nothing has come about of it. But obviously now it looks like it's all over the line. May the 20th. I'm looking forward to that fight. Now, if this happened, we'll say 2-3 years ago, I'd be picking Vasily Lomachenko to win the fight. However, he looked a bit shaky last time out. Now, I'm not going to lie, against that Ortiz guy, and I think Devin Haney is looking better and better. Having said that, Lomachenko's footwork is on another level to George Kambosos, same with his pressure fighting ability. So it's not going to be as simple as it was fighting the George Kambosos. So it's going to be very interesting. Also on May the 20th in Dublin, it's in the Tree Arena. Is what it is. The Tree Arena it's all right. It's a little bit bigger than the OVO up in Wembley, but it'll do the job. It's easy accessible. That's what I will say. Depending on where in Dublin. So put it like this: if you are going to be coming over for the fight and you're in the UK, depends on where you're going. I mean, it depends on where you're staying. Like, if you stay in the north side, like in Swords, where I'm from, there is some nice hotels in Swords. It's roughly about less than 20 minutes in a taxi. You go through the port tunnel, and you're literally, when you come through the tunnel, you're there. You're at the Docklands, and you're there at the Tree Arena. If you're in the city centre, again, like, it's not that bad. It's just the city centre. Dublin City can be a nightmare to drive through. Especially on a Saturday night, it can be an absolute nightmare to get through Dublin City at times. And taxis are not exactly the easiest in the city. Like London, you can have some... You could be at one end of the city and have to walk to the other end to get a taxi. But it's going to be in the Tree Arena. Chantel Cameron will now face Katie Taylor for the undisputed 140-pound world title. So Katie Taylor not defending her lightweight title. She's going to fight for the 140-pound title. Now, she has won a title at 140 pounds a couple of years ago. That was the WBO title. She's not fought there since. She went back down to 135. So Cameron putting her belts on the line against Katie Taylor. Obviously, the original opponent was Amanda Serrano. She got injured, so that's not happening. Now we have this fight. At the end of the day, right, I'm happy this is happening in Ireland, because Katie Taylor is a big star in Ireland. She is a big name. Everyone knows her. And of course, you know, I'm not even going to go there, actually. It's nothing to do with it. It's just people in Ireland making just stupid demands of Eddie Hearn to do stupid things that he's obviously not going to do. I'm not going to go into what they are, but of course, soon as Katie Taylor's fight gets announced, they're saying... these aren't box, these are just idiots who are saying that Eddie Hearn needs to do X, Y, and Z, and it's like, he's not stupid. He's not going to lose money hand over fist by doing what you ask. Something to do with TV rights. And it's like, you'd have to be a complete moron to think that Eddie Hearn as a promoter is going to give away the rights with the zone to a free-to-air platform in Ireland for people to watch. You must be out of your mind. That's what people are asking. I've seen people saying it, tweeting Eddie Hearn and saying, you need to do this. It's like, just don't do that. Just don't ask stupid questions like that. But we're getting Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, or Taylor versus Chantel Cameron on the zone. Big event for Ireland. I heard that JJ Metcalf is going to fight... What's his name? Actually, I forgot his name there. Dennis Hogan for the IBO title at 154 pounds. JJ Metcalf, obviously from Liverpool. He's the son of the Shamrock Express, Shane Neary. And originally, I can't remember where exactly in Ireland Dennis Hogan is from. I don't think he's from Dublin. I don't think he is anyway. But obviously based in Australia, but he'll be having that fight over here. Gary Cully is also going to be on the undercard as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the undercard Eddie Hearn puts together for that fight. It really will be. So Katie Taylor, she has her homecoming. Probably going to be her last fight as well, truth be told, I would imagine. And, you know, it's shaping up to be, like, we have Rakhimov versus Cordina in April, followed then on the same day by Tank Davis Garcia, potentially Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk a week later. Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz, definitely on April 29th. Canelo versus John Ryder, potentially on the 6th of May. Followed then by Inoue versus Fulton. So Canelo, we're going to have Canelo on the Saturday, Inoue Fulton on the Sunday. Boxing is doing well in 2023. Ain't nobody going to tell me otherwise. Ain't no one going to lie and say boxing's dead. Have you just heard the fights I mentioned? Alright, take John Ryder, Canelo out of the equation. That's not a great fight. Canelo's going to beat the living crap out of him. But still, we're getting good fights. Fulton and Inoue. Tank versus Garcia. Fury versus Usyk. Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz. Even Rakhimov versus Cordina is a decent fight. Francis Ngannou was revealed that he's spoken to Eddie Hearn about potentially fighting Anthony Joshua in boxing next, and has had more advanced talks with Deontay Wilder for a showdown with Wilder. Interesting. I mean, Ngannou, people are going to be coming at Francis Ngannou left, right and centre wanting to fight him. Because he brings money to the table. He's a name coming over from UFC. And he's not going to bring that much of a risk, lads, truth be told. Speaking of Eddie Hearn, he told Boxing Social, and this is an interesting one, right? So, Tyson Fury, the guy who is saying that, people should, all these Be Kind Brigade guys, those people. So, Eddie Hearn hit out at Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury made a video talking about Oleksandr Usyk, calling him all these names. What was it? Gap in between his two, calling him all these names. And Eddie Hearn said, what is that? He's an advocate for mental health and being nice to each other. Do you know something? Those people who say be kind and stuff like that, they are some of the most horrendous people you'd ever meet. I'm not saying necessarily that's Tyson Fury, but you see these people all over who are like, everyone should be kind, and yet they actually wish horrendous, despicable things on people. And, as I've said several times, these people who virtue signal, say all the be kind, stuff like that, it's a front. The majority of those people are absolute a-holes of the highest order. They really, truly are. That's the majority of those people. The virtue is just, it's a front. It's fake. It's just people trying to score brownie points. This is an interesting one. So, Gennady Golovkin has vacated his WBA middleweight world title, meaning that Erislandy Lara has now actually been upgraded to full champion. So Lara is now a two-weight world champion. What does that mean for Gennady Triple G Golovkin? Is he going to campaign exclusively at 168 pounds now? Or is he doing, personally, what I feel he should do, which is say, boxing's been brilliant to me. It's changed my life. I've done amazing things in my career. One of the best middleweights of all time, arguably. But it's time to bow out. I think you should do that, personally. It's going to be interesting to see what he does next. Ben Shalom revealed on TalkSport that he believes Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith, the rematch, will be announced this coming week. So that's going to be interesting to see Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith in a rematch. Do I think it will go any different from the first fight? Not necessarily, no. But the longer they leave it, the better chance I give Eubank, if that makes sense. Purely because I am convinced Eubank was still very much a spent fighter going into that fight, following the weight cut he did for the Conor Benn fight. And the fact of the matter is, that was October, start of October. So say for example he had a fortnight just to go, chill, drink whatever, eat whatever, and then back into camp. That's not enough time for your body to fully recover and replenish after such a bad weight cut. So he's straight back in, cutting weight again. It's not going to help. It's not going to make life any easier for him. So I reckon he was depleted like a you-know-what going in there against Liam Smith. Does that mean he'll necessarily beat him this time around if he's not as badly drained? No, I think that Liam Smith will cause problems to Eubank regardless. It's just a case of, can Eubank psychologically get over it? As well as that, can he psychologically get over it? Can he make the necessary adjustments? I don't think he can. I've not seen any evidence in his career to suggest he will. In fact, when it comes to the psychological aspect, I've seen more evidence to suggest that he'll fold the minute the fight starts. In terms of physically, I mean, I don't know what more Roy Jones can do with him. I don't know if Roy Jones is even the guy for him, truth be told. So we'll see. We'll see how he gets on when he fights Liam Smith, if he fights Liam Smith again, which I reckon he probably will, because who the hell else is he going to fight? So we'll see what happens with the whole Eubank Smith situation. Obviously, this week as well, we obviously had the press conference of Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. And those are two examples of fighters who got it done. They got the fight made. I'm looking forward to seeing it. The press conference I thought was very good. I enjoyed seeing the kind of guys, go at it a little bit and just, I know this fight is happening. Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, let's be having it. I can't wait for that fight. That is a fight that I'm looking forward to that. With the exception of Undisputed, probably more so than any other fight in boxing. Because that fight is just, it's going to be fireworks. I think it will be. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think Tank should win. But I'm not convinced that he does. I'm not 100% convinced he does. I will be picking him more than likely. I'll talk about it more so in the prediction video I'm going to do in the next coming weeks close to the fight, but very much looking forward to Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Other than that, I think we're all good. Once again, as always, I want to thank the Hit Company for sponsoring today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it in the comment section below. Leave your thoughts, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that. I hope you all have a great week. I hope whatever happens this week, everything goes well for all the people listening, for all of us watching. Hope it all goes well. I hope you all have a great week, people. For now, I'll leave you with that. Peace.